Hey guys, so I posted a video recently introducing the Danish Gambit as being an exciting and aggressive opening for white, and in the discussion on the chess.com forum about that, a couple of people mentioned the Smith-Morra Gambit, which is very similar. So I thought I'd try it out. I've just tried it out today in a 60-minute time control, so a long rapid, against the player rated 1267, no ego chess player from the US. And let me just talk you through it. So the Danish Gambit starts e4, e5, and then you go up with d4, the queen's pawn, inviting black to take that pawn, then take the c-pawn, and all hell then breaks loose. And the Smith-Morra is very similar, but it's played in response to the Sicilian Defence. So I've played e4 as normal. Black responds with the Sicilian, c5. Now the Smith-Morra Gambit is just like the Danish. Then you continue with d4, offering up that pawn. So you're offering a central pawn in return for a wing pawn. Black, in this case, responds. So the Gambit is starting to be accepted. Then I do the same as the Danish and play c3, offering black another pawn. Okay, so the whole idea of this opening is that you are trading material for extremely rapid development and lots of attacking opportunities. So let's see how the game works out. Black accepts the second pawn gratefully. Now, one approach here could be to capture with the knight and to get the knight into the game, then bring your bishops into the game. But I thought we'll do it in true Danish style, and I'll bring my bishop out to c4, anticipating that black will just keep gobbling up pawns and capture on b2, which he does. You then recapture, just like in the Danish, with the bishop. So now, again, you have your bishops looking down these long diagonals, right, all the way to black's king side. So very, very aggressive. And notice, again, black now has no development. Black has only moved one pawn for the entire game so far over 4 moves, okay? So, black now responds with e6, which is interesting because what I'm wanting to do, like in the Danish, would be to bring my queen out to b3 and then have my queen and my bishop looking down here at f7, which is black's most vulnerable square. White's most vulnerable square at the beginning of the game is likewise f2. Now, because black still has his e-pawn, then he can use that to block off that idea. So I need to come up with something else. So I bring out my knight, which will make it easy for me to castle at some point in the game. Black responds with a bit of a counterattack, bringing the bishop and delivering check. So I don't want to lose my dark squared bishop because this pair of bishops really slicing the board in half there is so powerful. So I'm going to block with my knight, and black then comes out again, attacking my light squared bishop. Obviously I can't have that, so I bring my queen in, and now you can see I have the this bishop and my queen there lined up on the diagonal now against g7. The queen is also defending my light squared bishop, my knight is defended by my dark squared bishop, and I'm hoping to castle sometime pretty shortly. Black notices this new threat and pushes a pawn forward to defend against it. I then decide it's time to castle. Let's get the king safe. The board is quite open up, so king safety obviously is number one, most important. Black is continuing to come at me with these little attacks. So out comes the knight to c6, attacking my queen. I move back onto in line with the king, so onto the e file. The knight has moved in front of the black queen, so my bishop there on c4 is okay for now. Black decides he wants to try and castle now, so brings out his knight. So he's actually doing quite a good job at developing his pieces, but the black's light squared bishop is looking very very weak right now. It's completely blocked in still. It can't get out into the center of the board. There's 2 pawns in front of it on this side. So my idea now is to try and prompt black to exchange his good developed attacking dark squared bishop for my knight. And at this point he had a think, and I don't know if he didn't notice that his bishop was under attack, but in a 60-minute game, in a 1-hour time control, you would expect him to. He decides to castle instead, so I grab the bishop. Knight comes in and snatches up the pawn. Notice now that I have queen and rook lined up against a7. But the problem is that here my bishop is on pre. The queen can just grab that bishop, so I'm going to move that bishop back. I really want to keep it on that diagonal face lined up with the black king. So I just have to play a safety move there. Black notices the double threat on a7, so he's playing well here. I then move my bishop to attack the knight. My queen is defending both of my other knights, and then this bishop is now in line with 3 pieces on black's side. He brings in his second knight to defend, and then again, you know, if you're playing an attacking game, you need to keep attacking. So I bring in my second knight, which wasn't really doing much there on f3. It's playing a bit of a defensive role, but there's no dark squared bishop to back up the queen if the queen decides to go for an h2 attack. So I figure the knight can come in here, and I'm not too worried about this knight coming into c2. I know that that's guarded by my light squared bishop, so I'm okay with that. So my idea here is that my knight can come in, take this knight. If, however, black recaptures, I can then grab the knight on b4. That's one idea. Black doesn't want that to happen, so initiates the exchange himself. I recapture with the queen, and the other knight now retreats. So I decide to I can now put my queen back onto c4 on the c file there. Again, where it is lined up with my light squared bishop and against black's king. So you can see there's all these threats going on now. I had to move the queen. I realise now that as well that my light squared bishop is looking at the rook on f8, but I had to move the queen. Attacks the queen again using a pawn. Black is not playing a bad game here. And again, I decide to press on. Right? In games like this, when you're playing this aggressive attacking style, withdrawing pieces and bringing them back to safety kind of negates the whole point of that approach. Right? You want to keep the pressure on when you're playing this. And obviously, the huge threat here is queen takes the rook on f8, checkmate. So black has to respond. Blocks the bishop's line there using the pawn. I figure let's take the pawn. If the knight the knight is actually pinned on the black queen, so the knight cannot take the bishop, or else I just snatch the black queen and we're winning. Black unfortunately doesn't figure this out, goes for the capture anyway. I get the queen, and then black resigns on the game. So really interesting opening. Just go over it very quickly again. e4 against the Sicilian, because this is interesting for me, because I've been looking for a nice response to the Sicilian that matches the aggressive and attacking kind of approach that I'm liking at the moment. I'm really enjoying playing this aggressive chess, and realizing that this is so similar to the Danish Gambit, I thought, why not? Let's give it a go. Let's go for it. And then we get almost the identical setup. The difference here is that there is no pawn on c7, and black still has his e-pawn. But look at the speed of development of white's pieces, and look at how many threats it's possible to string together and just bombard black's side of the board. So if you enjoy the Danish, check this one out as well. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.